The Cavs made 353 corner three-pointers last season, 76 more than any other team, and more than any team in the 21 years for which we have shot location data since 199,697. The context after shots in the restricted area, corner threes are the most efficient shots on the floor, worth about 1.2 points per attempt league-wide. If you can't get to the basket, or get to the line, your best shot is from the corner. No player generates more corner threes for his teammates than LeBron James. James' 162 assists last season on corner threes were 31 more than any player has ever registered. Add in the 15 corner threes that he made himself and he accounted for more than half of the Cavs' total. Kyrie Irving had a higher usage rate than James, but assisted on less than half as many corner threes, 0.8 per 36, as James did, 2.1 on a per-minute basis. Isaiah Thomas, 0.8 per 36, assisted on corner threes at about the same rate as Irving, even though the Celtics made 100 fewer than the Cavs. The Cleveland defense could suffer without Irving, but it's worth noting that James' teams have ranked in the top 6 in offensive efficiency in each of the last 9 seasons. If you surround him with enough shooters, and the Cavs still have plenty of those, you have the makings of a great offense. Speaking of those shooters, in 32 games with Atlanta last season, Kyle Korver made 15 corner threes. In 35 games with Cleveland, he made 38, with James assisting on more, 17 than Korver made with Atlanta. Of course, Korver missed the one that would have won Game 3 of the finals, having shot 57% from the left corner up to that point. Speaking of those shooters, Part 2, Korver 95%. And Channing Frye 93% were the only 2 players in the league who attempted at least 500 shots and were assisted on at least 90% of their makes. Speaking of those shooters, Part 3, 44% of Iman Shumpert's three-point attempts came from the corners. That was the 3rd highest rate among 135 players that attempted at least 200 total threes. Speaking of those shooters, Part IV, Kevin Love 21, J.R. Smith 15 and Korver 11 ranked 1st, 2nd, and 5th in postseason corner threes. Dwayne Wade has shot 42% on corner threes compared to just 28% on average break threes over the last 2 seasons, but that's on only 38 total attempts. Though Wade clearly has limited range, he has taken less than 10% of his threes from the corner over the course of his career. As a whole, the league has taken 24% of threes from the corners over those 14 years. Even in his 4 seasons with James in Miami, Wade took only 9% of his threes from the corners. Of course, he can create some shots from the corner. His teams haven't shot a lot of threes, but Wade has more assists on corner threes, 86, than on average break threes, 77, over the last 2 years. The bigger question for the Cavs' new additions is how much they can help on the other end of the floor. Last season, Cleveland ranked 22nd defensively, with transition defense being a critical issue. No team allowed more points per possession in transition, and only 6 teams allowed a higher frequency of transition possessions. The one problem with corner threes is that when you shoot them, you're in a bad position to get back in transition. The furthest point from the opponent's basket is the opposite corner. Put 2 shooters in the corners and opponents will be able to run after a missed shot, unless you react quickly and get back. When the Cavs did that, it worked out well. Their opponents had an effective field goal percentage of 55.8%, 6th highest in the league in the first 12 seconds of the shot clock, and 46.7%, 6th lowest in the last 12 seconds. That was the biggest drop-off in opponent effective field goal percentage from the first half to the last half of the shot clock, according to SportFu. But in general, the Cavs' first 3 steps in transition weren't quick enough. Jay Crowder should help the defense, both in transition and in the half-court. But from top to bottom, the Cavs have to develop better habits so that their greatest strength on one end of the floor doesn't weaken them on the other end.